Summoners, I'm back! Did you miss me? Cause I totally missed you! Aw, right in the feels. This week's champion trends feature Ryze, Annie, Karthus, Elise, Kha'Zix, and Kassadin. I'm Lindsay with Zam, and this is LOLKing's League Trends. Let's dive into Summoner's Rift. This week, the increases in pick rate are headed up by Varus, with Ryze, Ziggs, Xin Zhao, and Morgana trailing behind. So a few patches back, Ryze was buffed, and it's only now he's starting to get a lot more attention around the world. Comparatively, Ryze's buffs aren't huge. His Overload's range got increased by 25, and one of his core items, Tear of the Goddess, got buffed. Usually against other mages in the mid lane, Ryze is the weaker champion, but that's not where we've seen him lately. Recently, Ryze Top has been very popular in the NA and EU LCS, even if he's seemingly struggled a bit. Against melee bruisers in the top lane, we should just call him Biff since he's quite the lane bully. Providing he does well. He can do relatively well against all of the meta top lane champions like Shyvana and Renekton. Ryze's only weakness in the top lane is the possibility of being ganked in a long lane. If all goes well and Ryze can survive the laning phase, he has major potential in the late game. Around mid-game, Ryze should have some of his core items built, Rod of Ages and Seraph's Embrace. A late-game Ryze can become extremely tanky and does tons of sustained damage that shreds through the enemy team. Decreases in pick rates this week have Sivir up first, with Elise, Heimerdinger, Annie, and Garen rounding it out. Riot is trying to put this little girl back into her place. Ever since Royal Club's Tabe showcased his Annie support, she has become one of the most played support champions on the Rift, and I still can't get used to her. She's been banned and picked countless times, and at one point she was even considered one of the more broken supports, next to Thresh. The change Riot made was a nerf on the base damage on all of her abilities, making her a weaker support, but by increasing her AP ratios, she's still playable in the mid lane role. Honestly, the changes look very reasonable. At level 1, you lose 5 damage from her Q, Disintegrate. After that, it's minus 10 damage from her W, Incinerate, and minus 25 damage from Tibbers. So the nerf isn't terrible for her laning phase, and she'll still most likely be seen in both competitive and solo queue. Annie's Flash Tibber combo will still be nearly as devastating as before. Hooray! Champs heading up the largest increase in win rates this week have Heimerdinger up first, with Urgot, Volibear, Cho'Gath, and Karthus rounding out the list. Karthus hasn't been touched for a while, and yet he's been popping up every now and again in competitive play. Recently, Faker showcased Karthus with Flash and Exhaust as a soft counter to Yasuo. Karthus is still an AFK farming, late game scaling monster. If you can make it through the laning phase, you'll be able to do insane amounts of damage. And let's also not forget how awesomely annoying his ultimate can be. We've all been there, just barely survive with like 37 health, and you think you're in the clear and you go to B and then Requiem! Mother I'm fine, really. Karthus does some of the highest sustained damage on the Rift, and with the help of his team, he's able to take down objectives like Dragon and Baron. On the other side of the pond, Froggen has been drawing out Karthus bans and picking him repeatedly in the EU LCS. It might just be Froggen, but it seems like he can make Karthus a counter to any champion. Don't be like Froggen. Or do. Whatever. DDoS incoming! Champions with the biggest decrease in win rates this week have Elise with over 2%, with Rumble, Kassadin, Sivir, and Yorick finishing off the top 5. The Queen of the Jungle got knocked down a pick or two since the last patch, so let's go through the changes. Elise now does reduced damage to jungle monsters with her Q in both forms, nearly half at max rank. She'll still do nearly as much damage to champions during a gank, but her jungle clear will be a bit slower. Elise lost a huge amount of objective control on Dragon due to this change. Her Q Smite combo made it very hard for other junglers to steal objectives from her, and it gave her the option to steal objectives from others. Her Cocoon now scales from 1 second stun to 2 seconds instead of being just a flat 1.5 seconds at all ranks. Repel's cooldown has been lowered at max levels, and her little spider friends have become much tankier as she levels up. This helps keep the spiderlings alive to be more of a pest. All in all, these changes have affected Elise's win rates as players get used to the new Spider Queen. Increases in ban rates this week have Kha'Zix in the lead with quite a large margin. Wukong, Pantheon, Lee Sin, and Evelynn finish off the list. At first, people saw the Kha'Zix changes as a huge nerf, since he lost a lot of damage from his Taste Their Fear and a big chunk of AD ratio on his leap. However, the changes made to his ultimate Void Assault, which double his invisible duration, was more than enough to make up for the decrease in damage. For a jungle Kha'Zix, Evolved Active Camouflage has become the standard since patch 4.3. Basically, with the new ultimate, Kha'Zix becomes extremely tanky and hard to kill with the 6 seconds of invisibility and 50% reduced damage taken. This allows him to sneak up on people easier, and conversely, it allows for him to escape sticky situations. With the nerfs for Elise, Kha'Zix has supplanted her as the king of the jungle. Roar? Finally, the decrease in ban rates this week is headed up by Kassadin, with Elise, Vi, Yasuo, and Kayle completing our last top 5 list. Oh my god, it's finally happened. Kassadin's ban rate is going down, and I'm sure everyone is cheering and having parties around the world to celebrate this event, right? Kassadin's ban rate and pick rate continue to drop daily with the new nerf to his Voidwalker. His new Null Sphere no longer silences his target, it just interrupts casting channels. And let's be honest here, there aren't that many channels in this game. However, channels or no, it does now provide him with a small shield when he uses this ability. His Rift Walk no longer scales with ability but now scales with mana. This kind of forces some players to rush Tear of a Goddess and will also make his weak laning phase even weaker. In the end, his rework made the game better overall because if you were on the purple side, you almost always had to ban Kassadin, or else you have to worry about the enemy team picking him up. Basically, with Kassadin being irrelevant, the purple side finally has 3 bans again. He just can't catch a break, can he? And that's it for this week's show. Please be sure to subscribe to LOLKing on YouTube to keep up on these league trends. And be sure to subscribe to Cloth5 on YouTube for more great analysis. I'm Lindsay. Thanks for watching.